Thank you for checking out the Media Marketing Podcast, a place where you can learn all things media and marketing related. Don't miss a beat in boosting your business and your brand. In each episode, you'll gain valuable insights, tools, and strategies to apply to your marketing efforts. And now your host, Brian Cargill.
Okay, here we are at 26 Cafe in Portland, Oregon. I'm joined by Nick Mendez.
Hi.
Nick Mendez is a photographer and filmmaker, originally from Flushing, Queens. Hopefully I'm saying that right.
Oh, you are.
Okay, and then his LLC has provided media production services to West Coast clients, including New Avenues for Youth, the OHSU Foundation, Nike, CNN, and Pok Pok. He's also the editor-in-chief of Bad Futurist, a digital art and literature magazine available for free at future.repair.
Indeed. That was a good read. Thank you, Brian.
Yeah,
kind of you.
Yeah, thanks for being on the show, Nick.
A pleasure to be here.
Yeah,
a real pleasure.
and, I guess I'll do a little disclaimer before we get into it too much. We are here at the cafe setting in the back patio area. We have families nearby. There's the rustle and bustle of things.
Yeah, takes all kinds. Potential clients.
Yes, if you're stomping around, those are kids. Yeah, potential clients.
Yeah, exactly. You never know.
That's how I kind of see the world too.
Yeah, he's gonna need media production services one day.
Well, yeah, then they're gonna need photos of their kid at some
Exactly.
point, so.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, here we are. It's January, but we're outside under the heaters.
Very lucky.
Portland, very lucky.
Yeah.
But yeah, Nick, I just read that introduction. Is there anything else you want people to know about you or some of the work that you do?
Oh man, that's really kind of you. I'm really increasingly working with a lot of conceptual portraiture, both on an editorial basis and a commercial basis. I cover events on a pretty regular basis. That tends to be sort of bread and butter for me. Marketing videos. I've made a couple short films and I'm really interested in making more. That's kind of where my work is at right now, but you know how it goes. It's always constantly evolving and you kind of have to react to the world around you and not the opposite a lot of times. So
yeah,
see what happens next.
Kind of take work where it comes from, and then as a creative, it's like kind of what sparks your excitement at the time, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I'm really just trying to get better as quickly as I can, and I think it's sort of a good way to approach any sort of creative work is pursuing the opportunities that are going to let you gain more skills and hone your look and hone your style. And that's the sort of thing that can be really hard to see yourself doing in the moment. But yeah, it's increasingly what I'm focused on. I'm trying to judge opportunities based on where it gets me stylistically and artistically, because that doesn't always lead to money right away, but ultimately that will be the secret sauce,
Yeah, I hear you. And you're kind of like reinventing yourself all the time. Like just recently updated your website, and for people that don't know, that's nickmendez.com.
Oh yeah, Google me.
That's Nick N-I-C-K, Mendez Mendez. We'll also put in the show notes.
You'll find me. Yes.
Yeah, check out some of Nick's work.
Thank you.
You do a lot of fine art portraiture.
Yes, increasingly.
Which, I'm so glad we're having this conversation, because looking back at your background, we have very similar backgrounds with the journalism field.
Yeah.
But then more we're not doing anything reporting or broadcast, but we still use those skills and translate them in, when you're working with your clients. You ask them questions and you make them feel comfortable.
Totally. Yeah, I think there's so much to journalism that provides such a good foundation for any sort of media production work. Honestly, so many of the technical skills too. We talked about this, at a previous meeting, that media production folks tend to be very gear obsessed. We're always thinking about what we don't have that's preventing us from doing the job we want to do. But in my experience, a lot of those skills, you build your own approach. And people are making films on iPhones, so you can manage. You can manage what you have. And
people are making videos or movies on iPhones just because they can.
For sure, as a flex. Yeah, they're like, check it out, this entire film was made on an iPhone. It's like an impressive factor on its own. So, I think increasingly, I lost a train of thought.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. Where you're kind of talking about the tools over the medium, and so I think, or
journalism.
Yeah, journalism is not really I think a lot of people, we were talking about gearheads, people that get so wrapped up in I can't produce X, Y, and Z because I don't have this $10,000 camera.
Totally.
That's such a myth.
Yeah.
In our
totally.
Industry.
Yeah, and I think especially the Journalism Foundation is so good because it provides a basis for interacting with people for whom you're curious about. And that has made such a big difference in my career. A big part of being in journalism school for me was a frustration that the people who, for context, I graduated journalism school in 2009. And there was the people who were educating me in journalism at the time were very suspicious of the internet, which is fine. It was literally destroying like the newspaper industry at the time. So they had reasons to be suspicious, and they had reasons to not necessarily want to embrace all of those new technologies. But I think from a very early point in my career, I sort of had to separate my approach from the technology. Because I loved the internet. It was everything to me. I remember writing papers about what an incredible source for primary source information Twitter was, and getting into arguments with professors about it. And that was just sort of the scene at the time. I wouldn't trade it for anything. But from a very early point, I figured out that I needed to focus on the way I approached people, and that would lead to good work. And having that foundation of journalism, and obviously like, all fields have their own ethics and their own systems for morality, but I don't know, I wonder if you'd have the same evaluation, but for me, journalism school was so much about the ethics of approaching people, how you treat sources, how you treat their information, how treating people openly and curiously leads to better quotes, better stories. It lets them let you into their private world a little bit more, feel comfortable with you there, which makes all the difference when you're trying to tell a story.
Yeah, rapport is the big thing.
Exactly. So from a very early point, those journalism skills, they're just foundational. They're totally foundational to everything I'm doing now. Even as I, like you said, we're both pretty far away from producing news stories at this point, but
those skills are timeless,
Exactly.
No, it's kind of interesting. You bring up some good points of kind of like how like media and technology has shifted and changed and revolutionized that industry. And I mean, journalism is just one of many industries that have been like uprooted or like completely turned on its head because of that. And so they were slow adopters. And so I think there is something to be said of like, willing to adopt to the changes and like trying to see like, hey, this internet, it's not a fad. These social channels aren't just fads, like really investing time in them.
Right.
But then also to the same token, like there are timeless things that we're learning, which is like people are people at the end of the day. Whether they're, you're doing a Skype meeting with someone across the country, or you're like just messaging something on whatever social platform of your choice.
For sure.
But building up those rapport, making people feel comfortable is key to any kind of work. And so you use that with your fine portraiture work, right? I'm sure you ask questions to your talent as they're going along, right? A big thank you to our sponsors over at songtub.com. That's right, song or music and a tub, like a bath, but more fun to say. Tub. Anyway, you can check out Songtub's website for any of your music needs. In fact, the song playing in the background right now is from Songtub. So why pick them over anyone else? Well, they curate the music. And I know the guys, so that means I know that they're selecting great music for your project. A lot of other companies will brag about how many songs they have, maybe 100,000, 200,000, maybe even 1 million. But honestly, I don't have time for that. I don't have the time to just sit down and go next, a song not so great, trying to figure out where the best music is. Songtub.com, great place to get your music, and now I'm excited to offer you the first month for free if you go to songtub.com/pro, P-R-O, and we have a promo code for you. Yes, that's right, my name, your host, Brian, B-R-Y-A-N, and that will give you your first month free to have access to a huge music library that you can use towards your next video project, podcast, or any of your general audio needs. Anyway, back to the show.
As I sort of lean into fine art portraiture, what I'm really trying to work on is conveying complex concepts and topics with my portraiture. And I feel like I'm just sort of starting to unlock that. And in my mind, I think there's sort of two main motivators. I'm sure there are a lot more than that, but in my mind, there are two main motivators at any given moment in a creative career. Are you trying to pay the bills, or are you trying to grow artistically? And you really got to do both, right? Everybody has to do both. You got to keep a roof over your head, and if you have the same style uninterrupted for year after year, no one's going to hire you. You have to
keep pushing the envelope.
Exactly, and finding more convincing, compelling ways to present the information you're trying to present. But for me right now, I've sort of de-emphasized chasing the dollar for the sake of figuring out how to convey complex ideas. And I think that's going to take me a really, really long time to master. But in my mind, sorry, I'm going on a light diatribe here. In my mind, that will pay dividends in the future.
And probably be fulfilling, and it'll help you can continue to like kind of carve your own niche in the photography world, because we're in Portland where like photography is like, you know, dime a dozen, but being different or finding your own unique style at the end of the day is gonna, you know, like you said, pay dividends.
Exactly. Yeah, you're not gonna stand out because you have such a cool camera. Like that's just not gonna work. And also, no one cares.
I know all these people that put their huge equipment list on there. One, if you're a consumer and you're trying to like, if you want someone to do it, like maybe you know that like you've heard of Canon or you've heard of Sony, but once again, like no one really cares about it. They want to. It's the personality. They're buying the experience with Nick Mendez when they're doing the photography.
Yeah, and they might not even know. It's a weird thing too. When you're selling, photography is a weird sort of field because you're always selling a service to somebody who doesn't know how to do it, right? That's why they're hiring you in the first place. But photography is a weird one because everyone thinks they can do it a little bit. Everyone can do it a little bit. We live in a world where everybody with a smartphone is an amateur photographer, and you know the field is all the better for it. It introduces so many young people to photography. It makes us have to compete at a higher level.
That's funny that you say that, because I think some other people would be a little bit hesitant, but I see what you're saying. What my hope is that now that everyone has the tools is that they realize how challenging it is.
Oh, for sure.
Because when I was working in-house at places, people would send me photos from an event that they were at, and it would just be the behinds of everybody, because no one was willing to like kind of get in there, pause, sit with the subject, and sit there with the phone, because people, it is intimidating. You're standing there and people are looking at you as you're looking at them through the camera lens.
That's the perfect example though, Brian, right? Because like you could have a $4,000 like full frame like state-of-the-art camera, and or you can have a smartphone, and if you are intimidated to spin that photo around and take it with the people staring straight at you, that's going to make all the difference in the world, regardless of what equipment you're using. And I used to think that it was just about like bravery and being willing to put myself out there. I was a street photographer for years and years and years. I still really love street photography. And I used to beat myself up so much for not being more bold about those sort of situations. But, you know, it was sort of a situation where I was trying to do what other people were doing. I was seeing that, oh wow, other people are not taking photos of the back of people's heads. They're getting right in their face. How incredibly bold. But maybe that just isn't what I wanted to do. Maybe it just wasn't what fit my skills best, you know? So I think it's really about finding ways to grow your style and grow your approach, and very, very rarely is a piece of equipment going to make the difference in that.
Exactly.
And that's really where the foundation of journalism comes in too, is right. Journalism, I feel like it was probably one day in journalism school that we spent on this, but honestly, the inverted pyramid, and if you aren't familiar with this concept, listeners, like definitely look it up. It's foundational to the journalism practice. Any good article should put the good information right at the top, and then it slowly gets less important as you go down, right?
Which I do the same stuff with my video. I put my best shots at the front. With the photo gallery, you put it at the front. Even though it's kind of like counterintuitive because everyone's like, save the best for last, but no, that's called burying the lead.
Oh, yes, you definitely shouldn't do that. Also, we live in a time where even if you are only making a 2-minute video, a huge portion of your audience is going to watch 10 seconds of that. Because people's attention spans are short, and frankly, especially if you're talking about potential clients, they're evaluating you to hire you, they just want to see that you're legit. That's really it, right? Like they're not. This is kind of what I was mentioning a moment ago, is that like they're amateurs in the field that you're a professional for, right? So they're not looking for like, wow, like is there any ghosting in this image, or like, wow, is there like motion blur when he moves the camera, or like are his shots static, or like was he using a reference monitor to make sure he had the focus? Like they don't see any of that. They're just looking at 10 seconds of video.
I want to say a big thanks for tuning into the Media Marketing Podcast. Please subscribe to get notifications for new episodes, which are coming out every Thursday morning, or at least we're striving for that. Feel free to visit our Facebook page where you can like and join the media marketing community. This is a good resource for collaborating, sharing ideas with other media creators, marketers, and those just looking to build their network. So until next time.